Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to be ranking each and every Senate seat on their probability and likelihood of flipping in 2024. So, the states that we will fill in yellow will be the potential flips, which are the highest chance of flipping that seat, and the states we're going to fill in green are the challenging flips, less so likely, and the states we're going to fill in purple are the difficult flips, which will be unlikely flips. So, let's get started. Let's start off with this video actually. Let's start off with the western side of the United States map. So, starting up on Montana, that is probably a potential flip, and many of you probably agree with me. And I just think Tester is who the Democratic nominees, Tester, he's probably going to lose that seat. Whereas a year when he did win, he was more favorable. Now he is running again in a year where he is less favorable because Republicans in Montana, in a red state, as you all know, are probably going to be tired of having a Democratic senator, and they're not going to want him to win his re-election bid again, as they would probably want a Republican senator, because it is a very red state. So I do think Montana's a potential flip. I think it's probably one of the most likely flips actually out of all these so far. But yeah, now moving on a little bit down south to the state of Nevada. We're still on the west coast. Nevada. I also do think Nevada could possibly be another potential flip. Not saying it will flip from blue to red, but also a potential flip, as this is a state that is, arguably a Republican-leaning, trendy state, even though it's still voting Democrat in a good amount of ways, a good amount of numbers. But some could argue that Nevada is a pretty much overall red state, because if take a look at all the counties up north, especially northern Nevada, it's a pretty much Republican area. I think the only thing that's holding Republicans back from actually winning the state of Nevada is probably the Vegas area. I mean, you can argue that the Reno County is a Democratic county, but even Reno, that's pretty much it's still close. Other than that, Las Vegas is the only pretty much area that's Democratic, and that's the only thing keeping Democrats from actually winning. Is Las Vegas is the only thing that's keeping Democrats alive in Nevada, because other than that, if you take out Las Vegas from Nevada, if you separate Las Vegas from Nevada, that whole state is pretty much Republican. But the most population is living in the Las Vegas area. So with that being said, because Las Vegas is the most populated area, it's still this very well Democratic state. So I'm not putting it too much to the table. Obviously, Catherine Cortez Masto only won by 0.8%, less than a percentage point. So it's obviously a potential flip, considering that the margin Catherine Cortez Masto won by was just very little. It was that close. I think it's a potential flip in 2024, no matter who wins, whether it's Rosen or the Republican nominee, Rosen on the Democratic side, and whomever the Republican nominee is. Whoever wins in Nevada Senate race in 2024, they're barely going to win. That's how close it's going to be. So I think it's a potential flip from blue to red, but not for certain. But I do think it's probably one of the closer ones that we should expect. And then now moving down to the Sun Belt, to Arizona, I do think that's going to be a challenging flip, as if Kyrsten Sinema does run, she has filed paperwork, but it's not been confirmed. But when it does be confirmed, and if she does run, there's some skepticism whether Kyrsten Sinema running as an independent is going to hurt Democrats or is it going to hurt Republicans. I think it goes both ways. I think it can hurt Republicans because a lot of the Republicans' support can actually turn out for Kyrsten Sinema. And then I also think it can hurt Democrats because, same thing, all the Democratic support can turn out for Kyrsten Sinema because she was a former Democrat, which will, swing the vote into her favor. So with that being said, I think Kyrsten Sinema is going to hurt Democrats and it's going to hurt Republicans both equally, because I think she's going to steal Republican voters for herself, and I think she's going to take away some Democratic voters as well, which actually could cause her to win. And now we heard rumors. I don't know if you guys know this, but we actually recently heard rumors that Kari Lake might run as an independent for the 2024 Senate race in Arizona, which should be interesting. But as of right now, I think Arizona is a challenging flip, as it is a very fastly growing Democratic state. In a few years from now, Democrats should be locked in on the state of Arizona, as they currently have a Democratic governor and a Democratic senator, and they just voted for a Democratic president in the year of 2020, as we all know. So Arizona is a new, upcoming Democratic futuristic state, and not really futuristic. It's already kind of a Democratic state. You can already tell. So, yeah, I think it's a challenging flip for Republicans. So I think Democrats should hold on to their seat, and I do think if Democrats don't win Arizona Senate race in 2024, it's probably going to go to the independent Kristen Sinema. Other than that, I think when we're talking about Arizona Senate race for 2024 specifically, I think it's either going to go to the independent Kristen Sinema or the Democratic nominee. I just don't think it's going to the Republican nominee at all, because I just don't think Republicans in Arizona Senate race specifically do that well anymore, considering the recent trends. So I think Arizona's going to be a little bit more on the challenging side. I think that should remain in Democratic control. If not, slightly go to independent Kristen Sinema if she does end up running. So Texas, moving down to a little bit deep south, I do think that's also a challenging flip. Ted Cruz is also running his bid again. I do think Ted Cruz is probably going to win with around 3 to 4 percentage points, which should be a lean margin. Not too shabby. He's not going to win, with his crazy numbers. He's not going to put up some crazy numbers like 10%. He's probably going to win with a decent average margin, somewhat close. It's going to be a lean margin. It's going to lean towards Ted Cruz's favor, probably around 3 to 4, maybe even 5%, because he only won by 2% last time, and that was against Beto O'Rourke. Imagine he's versing someone other than Beto O'Rourke, which he is. I think. It's going to be it's going to be a little bit better. So I expect Ted Cruz to win, so I think it's going to be a challenging flip for Democrats, and I expect Republicans to win the Senate in Texas specifically. So I do think Texas 2024 Senate race will lean towards Ted Cruz, and I just don't think 2024 will be the year that the Democrats flip the Senate. I do think that the year Democrats would probably flip the Senate would be probably in the year 2028, maybe even 2030. So late 2020s or early 2030s, somewhere around there, is the time where I think Texas could possibly have a Democratic senator. Late 2020s or early 2030s, I think that's when Texas will have its first Democratic senator. 2024 is not the Democrats' year. I just don't think so. I think it's going to lean towards the Republican Ted Cruz. It's going to be a challenging flip. So that's where I have Texas at. And now moving on to Florida, I think we all know where that's at. It's definitely a difficult, hard flip. That's unlikely going to flip. Florida is already a hard red state. It's definitely a right-wing state, and I think it's pretty much Florida's a lost cause for the Democratic Party, and the Florida Democratic Party just does not know how to run their candidates. I mean, you take a look at Charlie Crist. He got destroyed by Ron DeSantis, and Marco Rubio destroyed Val Demings. So as long as they keep it up, it's definitely a difficult flip, and it's a lost cause for the Democratic Party. With that being said, Florida is unlikely going to flip for the 2024 Senate race. It's a difficult flip. It's a difficult one. It's probably going to remain in Republican control. So, now, moving on to the north. Moving up a little bit north. I think West Virginia is another one that's probably likely going to flip into GOP's favor. I mean, Joe Manchin, he's not what he used to be. And West Virginia is arguably the safest Republican state, or the most, conservative state out of all 50. So with that being said, they're obviously going to want a Republican senator, and I think that's the likeliest one that's going to flip. I just don't think they're going to want another Democratic senator after just having one. I don't think that's going to happen. It's a very red state, similar to Montana. I think West Virginia and Montana's 2024 Senate race will vote very similarly, and I think if one race goes this way, I think the other race will go to the same way. So I think Montana and West Virginia will vote very similarly in 2024's Senate race. And then Ohio, I think that Sherrod Brown, I mean, he's whatever. I just don't think he's going to win. He's an incumbent, whatnot, whatever. I mean, same with Tester from Montana. I think Ohio and Montana would be very similar, whereas they were popular back when they won, but they're not as much anymore because Ohio is just a red state. So I think that's on the. I think that's also a potential flip from blue to red. I just don't think Sherrod Brown is going to do it. I think he could. I think he'll come close, but I just don't think so. I think Republicans should win that Senate seat with a lean margin, and I think that's probably another likely one that's probably going to flip in the GOP's favor. And now, moving on to some of these Rust Belt states such as Minnesota. Minnesota is a difficult flip, and it's definitely a safe. When it comes to the Senate race, it's definitely a safe Democratic Senate seat, considering the fact that Klobuchar won very comfortably in 2020, I believe, or 2020, and what they did in 2022. I mean, Minnesota is just a good, in good position for Democrats in the Senate for 2024, and I don't think we should spend too much time focusing on Minnesota because it's just easily going to go to the Democratic Party. So it's a difficult flip. It's a long shot. Republicans just won't win it in 2024. I just don't see it, and I think a lot of people don't see it pretty much. So now moving on to the state of Wisconsin, I think it's probably a potential flip from red to blue. Ron he's currently on his last bid, so he's not going to run again. Obviously, his final terms coming to an end, and I think Tammy Baldwin has a decent shot at winning. I think she's probably likely going to win, as she won before, so she is a proven winner. And I think Democrats are running a strong candidate in Wisconsin. In particular, Tammy Baldwin is a strong candidate. And when it comes to Republicans rejecting to run against her, such as Scott Walker, it's not going to help. It's not going to help Republicans. So I think Wisconsin's Senate race should flip over to the Democrats in favor of Tammy Baldwin, and she's a very popular candidate. She's good for Wisconsin's Democratic Party. So I definitely think Wisconsin Senate seat should flip to blue in 2024. Now Michigan, that's a difficult flip. Michigan's Republican Party is just an utter and total complete failure / disaster, whatever you want to call it. They don't have funding whatsoever. They don't even know which candidates to run, and I don't even think the Michigan's party even has candidates to even run on the ballot. Half of them, no one even knows them. So I just think Michigan is a lost cause for Republicans in the Senate for 2024, and I think that's a difficult long shot flip for them. So I think the Michigan Senate seat should comfortably, by even double digits, maybe even 10 points, go to the Michigan Democratic nominee for Senate. So now moving on to the last and final two states, actually. Maine's definitely a difficult flip. I just don't see it, being that close. I mean, could possibly potentially be somewhat competitive, but I think it's going to be a long shot on the other side, pretty difficult. And then last state, Pennsylvania. That's definitely a challenging flip. Considering that John Fetterman just, beat Dr. Oz by 4 to 5 points. And he's also not going to run again, by the way. Keep in mind, John Fetterman is not seeking a second term. That does not really shake up anything, as it might actually benefit Democrats in a way. So if Republicans think that, John Fetterman is a weak candidate and he still won by 4 to 5 points, then if Democrats choose someone else, then Democrats would win by more. So I think that it's going to be a hard, challenging flip for Republicans. I think it's possible, but will it happen? I just don't think so. I think Pennsylvania Senate seat will lean towards the Democrats' favor. And what happened in 2022 Senate midterms with Dr. Oz getting hammered in the face by John Fetterman, I just don't see Republicans winning Pennsylvania Senate seat in 2024 and moving on. I just think it's going to be a challenging flip. Now, it's not definitely for certain that they're gonna lose it, but it's definitely on the challenging slash difficult side. So Pennsylvania Senate seat for 2024, I see it as a challenging flip for the GOP. It's gonna be hard to win. Will they is a question. I just don't see it. So there you guys go. This is pretty much the video. So let me know if you agree with some of these states that I filled out. So just a quick summary before I end out this video. The potential flips, which are the states that will likely flip that I have filled out: Montana, Nevada, West Virginia, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Those states will likely flip. Those are the potential flips with the the greatest chance at flipping. And now the green states that we filled out are the challenging flips, which are the the lesser chances of flipping probability is Arizona, Texas, and Pennsylvania. And now the states that will unlikely flip, and that is the most difficult flipping, and the most likely not going to flip at all, is Florida, Michigan, Minnesota, and Maine. So let me know if you agree on this map that I have filled out, and what do you think is the the states that are the most difficult at flipping, and on these potential flips and these probabilities in the comment section down below. And don't forget to subscribe, as we are approaching 500 subscribers.